Okay, so today we want to wrap this cold pipe with gold. In a previous video, we installed that custom inlet. That one's polished aluminum, and since that has a higher reflectance number than the gold wrap, I think I'm going to leave that. Plus, gold and silver has specific meaning to me. And basically everything I'm doing in this car has some kind of meaning. So what we want to do is take off this pipe to wrap it. Of course, you want to wait till everything's cooled down. So we're going to have to, I'll have to see which one's better. Probably disconnect this here, and this here, as well as right back here, this bolt here. And so basically just to take it out, what I'm going to do is take a Sharpie and we'll mark where everything is, because what I don't want to do is wrap in a spot that's going to be covered by the pipe or obstruct anything. But I'm just going to make the mark all the way around, just so I can wrap it and not waste any tape, because there's no use wrapping something that's going to be covered. As well as I'm going to want to wrap this box. Once I get everything out, I'll have access to it and be able to reflect the heat from that as well. And then we'll see what else we want to do. But at least that, to reflect all the heat coming from the engine towards the cold pipe and everything, and just go from there. This is what we're going to need today, just to reflect the gold heat reflection tape, and then a pair of scissors. Okay, so I got it out and have everything set up on my table. Work inside because I don't want to sweat in the garage. So what I noticed is this actually has a reflective coating on it. On the website it didn't say exactly. So here you can see the differences in reflectability. Regardless, we're just going to work on cosmetics here. Don't want to cover up the logo, so we'll work around that. So basically from the videos, we're going to take a piece of this, wrap it around and kind of get an estimate size, and that'll be our template for cutting all the pieces. So you're going to lay your piece out and then measure it, make marks on the paper for your pattern. So since I have 2-inch tape, I'm going to cut it, split down the middle into 1-inch tape to handle the bends here on the curves and everything. Because the goal is to have the least amount of wrinkles. Then I can use the wide parts to cover the main body of the pipe. So if you want to know the size that I'm using, it's right at 10 3/4, and that's with some minor overlap that I'll hide at the bottom. So you can find the middle by peeling back the tape in even length, and I'm only, of course can't show you with both hands, but once you do it with even length, then this part right here is going to be your center, and that center is what you're going to use to line up directly onto the top right there. Once you get it started, you're checking for your line where you have the Sharpie, and then you'll begin to peel back and wrap. And again, you want to flatten from the center and work your way down and out. So I wrapped one side of it already. And now I'm coming around to this side. And what you'll know is on this bend, it's a little bit smaller than 1 inch. So I'm probably gonna have to split this 1 inch down the middle from here, so that way it can overlap a little bit like at a 1/2 inch. So I carefully split it with an X-Acto knife, and I'll continue to wrap. As you're wrapping, make sure you're pulling it tight. That way you're trying to minimize any wrinkles. So I got half of the 1/2 inch done. I'm gonna work the other piece. So now you can see how it's split. Okay, so you can see the second piece is turned just slightly because we're starting the curve on the outside of the pipe. So it's still gonna want to split a little bit, but we'll fix that. For the next wrap, I marked the angle that I'm going to need to get this to turn correctly and cover that split on the side. Make sure you're cutting any excess off on the bottom. That way you can keep it clean and you don't have this weird buildup. And you can take any leftover pieces and go ahead and patch along the bottom. That way it'll eventually get covered up by everything else as you wrap. To smooth out the pieces, make sure you rub straight down the center and then go straight out to the edges in even fashion. That way you don't get a fold. Made another mark to see how straight I can make it. Again, trying to maximize and not waste tape. For this next piece, we want to go all the way up against the logo without covering it. And also make sure that we're not going to leave a gap back here. So here's where we're at so far. Haven't covered the logo, got it nice and clean against the edge. And that piece took me 20 minutes from start to this point of the wrap. So the logo is 3.5 inches. So you're gonna need at least 2 pieces to cut that out. Okay, so what I'm gonna do for here, I was gonna wrap it the same way over the top, but making sure I'm not pushing down on the logo because I don't want it to stick. I also still have my plastic on here, the protector. So hopefully it'll help it not stick to it. And then we'll trim it out to make it nice and clean and have that logo pop back out. So notice I'm just pressing down along the seam, the edge, and then where it goes around. And just have a slight lip that goes all the way across, and we'll cut that out. And then I'll continue to wrap and make sure it doesn't leave a gap. Okay, so now I got it wrapped. I pressed down below, but not up top. And then we're gonna cut this out. So I don't know if you can tell, but I took my X-Acto knife, ran it along the edge all the way around to make the cut. Now we'll just take off the tape. Okay, so this is what it's supposed to look like right now. So here's our next piece. Now we just gotta cut that. So there's your next. Here it is so far. Now we just gotta cut. There you go, still nice and clean, nice corners. So I'm doing a test fit of a 2-inch piece to make sure it will lay down flat. So I suggest you do the same and kind of see how it's going to work around this other piece. So I had to use the X-Acto knife and kind of cut around that weld to get this to lay flat. There's the weld cut. Now we're going to go back to the 1-inch pieces to get this bend done. So for this part, I went ahead and cut where it went ahead and matched because it's got a very difficult bend, so it's the only way to not get wrinkles. So you're gonna have to just cut these strips a little bit shorter once you reach the bottom where all your other cuts are. That way it'll keep it clean. Okay, so there it is with my cut around the weld. Nice and clean. So now I'm gonna take my drop piece and do the same thing, working my way from the opposite side underneath. Okay, so now this side's done. I lined up the edges, so everything's clean. So for this part, I think I'm just gonna take a short piece and wrap that little short tube first, and then make all my junctions at the weld, just like how I did for everything else, to see if that makes all the rest of this clean. So it should look something like that. Okay, now I'm test fitting the next wrap. It looks like about a 1-inch. And around these welds, you can kind of press and bend, and the tape will kind of stretch like duct tape does. Okay, now I test fit this next angle, and I made my marks. Okay, so we worked our way all the way to this point. So we're still wrapping 1 inch at a time, all the way around this, keeping it clean. At this point, we're going to split the tape again like we did at the very beginning. So it's like 1/2 inch, and see if that helps this wrap. Now that it's split, we'll wrap it. Now for the final piece. You're going to need to cut 1/2 inch strips underneath to kind of make this clean lip. There you go. This last one's tricky to get it perfectly straight. I might have to do some splits on this last piece, how it bends. Where it gets to these edges, you're going to have to use your X-Acto and cut around to make this smooth because it goes in at a weird angle. Okay. Now it's complete all the way around. That little piece I think I can live with. Okay, here's the finished product. So I've already removed the intake pipe, and then we want to kind of wrap this black box to kind of reflect heat as well. So I wrapped the box here with the gold. Okay, I had problems getting these hoses off. I'm going to apply some of this white lithium grease to make sure that it doesn't seize on there for the next time I have to take this off. Okay, so the wrap is done, the install is complete. You can kind of see everything here, how it's all connected. We still got the logo. So yeah, I just gotta clean my engine bay. I went ahead and started it up, no engine lights, so we're good. So the whole job took about 3 hours, about an hour and a half for wrapping, and then removal and install, and then plus wrapping the box took longer as well. Because I didn't take the box out, but there you go. Okay, this is the finished product in daylight, just so you can kind of see the difference to the engine bay. There's more to do, but that's my first step. Here's the angle, and you can see the box also wrapped. Sounds maybe toned down just a little bit with the tape, but I still got it. Main thing I noticed that it doesn't have as bad as a ring. Sometimes without the tape it ring a little bit, like 10, but I think it sounds better